Hello princesses! Today I'm going to be talking about the Clio Pro Eye Palette. I picked this up in the shade number 3, which is Coral Talk, and I was very interested in this because there seems to be a lot of Clio Pro palettes coming out. So I had the Clio Pro Blusher palette previously, which was a really lovely palette. I didn't end up keeping it because it wasn't quite like 100% my favourite thing, but I was really interested in trying out this, and I just saw the other day that they have a Clio contour kit as well. So there seems to be a lot of the Pro palette somethings coming out from Clio recently. So for this one, the product description says, eyeshadow palette having both basic shades for daily makeup and trendy colours for creating different looks. Use the accompanying brush or your finger to evenly apply the desired colour around the eye area. After applying the base colour, use the glitter for point makeup application for a more even, vibrant eye makeup expression. So the packaging of this product is really nice. It's quite functional as well. It has a clear window on the top so that you can see the colours, and then when you open up the palette it actually has a little mirror where that little space where there's no window is. I think for me personally that the little tiny mirror is way too tiny for me to do anything with, and I would kind of prefer that they didn't have it in there. The palette does come with a tiny little brush for ants. I think it's a really cute inclusion, although I don't think it is very functional. There are 10 colours in the palette and they are all really pretty colours. There's a fair mix between the shimmers and the actual matte shades. I think there's 5 shimmers and then there are 5 mattes. Yep. I think that there is a lack of sort of like a mid colour for me personally. I feel like some of the lighter colours are more like base colours, they're not really crease colours or transition shades, and then the other matte ones that could be those sorts of things are a little bit too dark for me to use. So it is kind of lacking that for me personally, but I think that the shimmer shades are so beautiful that they kind of make up a little bit for it. The first shade is a very light beige peach. You can barely see this one on my eyelid, but it does make a nice base colour. The second shade over is a really pretty champagne glitter. This one doesn't have very much of a base colour. It really is just the glitter itself, but it is very pretty. This third shade along is a really pretty rosy kind of gold shimmer. This one looks really similar to the colour to its left, which is more of a champagne shimmer, but it's slightly more rose gold coloured and a little bit less sparkly. The next shade along is one of those really cool looking mosaic ones. I don't particularly like how this one applies, just because there are different parts. If you pick up more of the white colour, it's going to change colour. So this isn't particularly an accurate swatch in that aspect, but it is still really cool. It's more of a pink colour, this one, which is really interesting. The last shade in the first line is this really nice matte terracotta colour. It's kind of like a mix of orange and brown, which is really pretty. It's quite pigmented, but I have shared it out here because I did use it as more of a transition shade. The first shade in the second line is this really nice sort of frosted gold. I'm kind of trying to describe it. It's not really like I guess it would be mostly champagne gold if I had to give it a name. But this is super pretty, and I use this one quite a lot. The second shade along is another one of those really pale peaches. This one, again, I can't see very much on my own eyes. It might make a really nice base shade for someone else though. The middle shade in the bottom looks like a really pretty coral colour, and in reality it's kind of a light peach on my eyelid. I have used this as some kind of like transition shade and like to blend out other transition shades, but I don't get a huge amount of use out of this one either. The brown glitter in the bottom row is really pretty. I actually really like the tone of the brown. I wish that this one was kind of the crease colour, and the glitter is really nice too. The last brown is a deep sort of warm brown, I think. I don't really have a huge amount of use for this one. I have used it to darken up the outer corner a little bit, but not a huge amount. It's just a little bit too dark for me personally. This is a tricky one. There's no real, like, for me, transition shade. So I'm going to go in really lightly with this very dark sort of brown. Oh yeah, no, I feel like this is going to end terribly for me. I'm going to try and put that in the crease and see how we do. I might have to mix it with a little bit of like one of the other lighter colours just to blend it out. So I might try and place the colour first. So far I haven't had a huge amount of use from this palette because honestly the colours are just not like everyday colours for me. There's a lot of light sparkly colours which I can definitely use by themselves on the lid, but there's not a huge amount of use for the rest of the shades for me because they are a little bit too dark. Like there's nothing that's, I don't mind dark shades, there's just nothing in between that's the problem. There's no like mid-toned transition. Like even this for me is fairly dark, and that's why I'm struggling with it. So then if I try to blend it out, I can try and use like maybe one of these two shades. Let's try this more corally one and see if that will help to just fade it out a little bit. That kind of worked. I don't want to bring it too much into the inner part of my eye. Okay, that's not horrific. It's not horrific. So then I'm going to take this shade here because it looks the most interesting and fun, and I'm going to put that on the majority of the, oh, that is fun, the majority of my eyelid. This is very pink in comparison to the rest of the shades, which are quite coral. It kind of depends on what part you pick up though, because it is sort of like a, I don't know, like a mosaic effect almost. It's not always going to be the same color. I'm talking really slow right now. So I'm going to put that pretty much all over the top of my eyelid, and then I'm also going to do some on the lower lash line as well. And then I'm also going to bring some of this mix down onto the lower lash line as well. Okay, so now we're looking like this. I'm okay with it so far, but I'm not loving it a huge amount. I am going to put some of this very dark shade in the corner down into the corner of my eyelid here. So I'm just dusting off a whole bunch of that and then just gently patting it in with my blending brush. This will give a little bit of depth and tame down the sparkle just a little bit more. Yeah, okay, that's alright. It's not a huge amount of colour. Oh no, I just plonked a whole bunch more down. Oops. Yeah, I think that the quality of this is really nice. I'm just not used to the colours. I don't feel like the colours work that well for me personally, which makes me a bit sad because I do like Clio products. So I'm just getting the excess product off my brush, and then I'm going to try and blend some of the corners out a little bit more. So there's nothing on my brush at the moment aside from the stuff that it's already on my eye that I'm trying to flick around. So I'm trying to even out the line between the bottom lash line and the top, and then bring a little bit of this up and over. I feel like this dark corner looks super patchy. And then there's like, in the camera there's like a gap here, but in real life there is no gap. So I'm going to leave it, and then I'm going to do exactly the same thing on my other eye. Then I'm going to put on my liquid liner that you guys have seen a million times, and my mascara that you guys have also seen a million times. This is the Too Faced Better Than Sex mascara, and then I will show you what the eyes look when they're finished. So this is how we ended up looking with both eyes done. I always like things a lot more once I have eyelashes, well, once I have mascara and eyeliner on. So I don't think it looks too bad, but is it something that I would try again? Maybe? But in all honesty, probably not, because it was a lot of effort. Just because the colour for the transition was really too dark, and they don't really have a brownie brown. So when I was using the peachy colour, I was like, oh, you know, I could have definitely used that, but that's very, very orange in comparison to, like, you know, the rest of the colours. But yeah, no, yeah. So all in all, I think that this palette is really beautiful. I find that the colours are really easy to apply, they blend nicely, and they all work together pretty well, with the exception of this one really peachy shade. I guess this one's more coral and that's kind of more peach. The other colours work really well aside from that one. I just think that for me personally, it's not the best palette because it doesn't have like a good transition shade for me. There's nothing really that I can put in my crease for a more day-to-day wearable look. The look that I'm wearing at the moment is really pretty, don't get me wrong, but it's not something that I would personally wear on a day-to-day basis because it's a bit too dark, it's a bit too intense. That's my personal preference and what I sort of look for in palettes, and this is just missing that. There are some really beautiful shades and I adore the shimmers. The shimmers I think are all just so pretty. The darker shimmer I don't really have that much use for, but that's okay. That's just me personally again. I think that it's a really great palette. It's just not suited to my needs at the moment. I think that if I was to make changes to things like the packaging as well, I like that there's a window, but I think that the mirror underneath, it's just so small, like you're not going to be able to do any, unless you're really holding it close and doing really detailed work. I can barely see one whole eye in that, so it's a bit useless. They could have saved some money, made the palette a little bit cheaper without having that. I think that the brush is also, it's a cute idea, but honestly most people who are doing eyeshadow probably have their own set of brushes anyway, and this is probably not going to be that helpful for this kind of palette. Like, it's not going to distribute the colours very evenly or very easily. Those are just my 2 cents on the packaging though. Obviously I'm not creating the products myself, but I think that they could bring down the price a bit because they're not that pricey. This is $18.41 US, but it's not that cheap. You know, it could be a little less expensive if they took some of those little things out that are unnecessary for me, for what I think personally. So I would highly recommend these to anybody who's looking for these kind of shades. I think that it is a really beautiful color palette. I did pick the pink coral because I thought that it was more unique than some of the other ones. Like the pink one, Simply Pink, looks beautiful, but I have so many pink palettes at the moment, so I wanted to try something a little different. This is not my cup of tea, but I think that it is beautiful, and if you like these shades, then I would totally recommend it. I think it's really great. So thank you guys so much for watching this review, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!